So welcome to the restorative class. I can see you already snuggling in, which is good. And there's different ways to get yourself feeling relaxed and comfortable. And most of the ways you know how to do that are your secret. The best yoga teacher in the world can suggest this and that, but I want to suggest that during the class you might have little tricks, little ways, little adjustments that make it even more comfortable in your situation. I'm recommending you have a bolster under the thighs, maybe some blocks at hand. Make sure the head is supported. And if the ambience, the lighting can be low, if that helps reduce the stimulation to the brain. Sometimes people like to put a cover over the eyes. And I'm noticing in my body tonight, usually I like to stretch the legs out over the bolster, but for some reason tonight, my legs like to remain bent with the feet on the mat. So even though I've done this class hundreds of times, tonight it feels just a little different. The hamstrings are tight. And remembering the goal of restorative yoga, it might be different for everyone who does it. So sometimes it's good to think, what specifically is my goal tonight? What do I want to take away from this class? One way I look at restorative yoga is it's taking an hour to explore deeper and deeper states of relaxation. Through changing shapes and holding shapes, being supported. The body has a way of letting go of tension if you simply give it time while you're in a comfortable position. So as you lie there, make any micro movements of adjustment that help deepen the relaxation. And finally, my legs are ready to stretch out and rest on the bolster. Notice the movement of breath as you relax. Notice as you breathe in how the back of the throat feels, the mouth, the nose and the eyes, this whole area of the body that's so sensitive to the breath. What are those sensitive parts of the body feeling right now? Notice if the breathing is slow and regular, gentle and deep, or is it irregular, choppy, changing from moment to moment. On the next inhale, gently pick the feet up and push out through the heels, curl the toes back, spread the toes out, and notice how that feels on the feet. And if you'd like to point and flex the feet, or turn the ankles, give yourself a moment to play a little bit with the ankles and the feet. And then gently stand the feet on the bolster. Remembering you have the option to do nothing. You can literally stay in any position for as long as you like. So if anything that I'm offering you isn't your cup of tea tonight, simply come back to something that feels good, that's working for you. I'm going to invite you to reach the right knee over the left knee so there's a little stretch on the right glute. And like you're in a little gentle boat, let the knees rock 1 or 2 inches to the left and then to the right. Very gentle rock, not too much. Just feeling that rock, feeling the sensations. And if those rockings from left to right get a little bigger, like your knees are moving through taffy, explore that deeper rocking. And then I'm going to invite you to find a position where you can hold the knees either twisted to one side or pointing towards the ceiling in the middle, or any other position. If you feel like pausing and just hanging out, try that. If the rocking is still working for you, continue the rocking. And if you're ready to uncross the knees and let them go, at any time, give yourself that permission. when you're ready, if your knees are not already in neutral, you can bring them to neutral and uncross, standing the feet on the bolster or the mat. And noticing if that was an experience that you enjoyed or not. Did it feel helpful or not? Do you feel a little more relaxed as a result or not? And then consider bringing the other knee over, changing the cross of the leg. Noticing the sensations this new cross brings. And then feel this tiniest of rocking. So small that at first you don't even notice it. Such a small rock. And stay in tune with the sensations of the rocking. It might remain very, very small. It might grow a little larger. Or it might stop. And if it grows a little bit, decide if there's a point in the rocking that feels where you would like to hang out in a new shape for a little while. Knowing that you can always uncross the legs at any time. And whenever you're ready, if the knees are not already back in neutral, bring them back to neutral and uncross. Let the left leg straighten out and bring the right foot against the left thigh. Adjusting the bolster if you need to so that the right ankle, the right shin and the right knee can all rest in tree pose on the bolster. Noticing how it feels, having the hip rotated outwards. Is that something that feels good for your hip? And then consider either staying in tree pose or crossing the right ankle over the left knee. And then bending the left foot, the left knee, standing the left foot on the mat. So there's a figure 4 shape instead of a tree pose. And then bring both hands to the inside of that figure 4. If you've chosen figure 4, and gently press into that leg. Exploring to see if there's any tension in the muscles of the inner thigh, or where the femur connects to the hip. And noticing if that pressing away releases the pressure or not. Creating a little space between the leg bone and the hip. Exhale, release the pressure. Uncross the figure 4 or the tree pose so both legs extend. And then consider coming into tree pose on the other side. Left foot stands against that right leg. Noticing if the external rotation of the left hip feels any different from the right hip. As the body settles, as you feel like you found the position or shape that works to help release tension in your body, consider bringing your attention back to the breath. Inviting the breath to move in and out through the nose. And if you're closing the mouth, close it gently so the jaw and tongue, the teeth and the roof of the mouth all feel invited to relax. And then consider if you'd like to explore a little different shape by crossing the left ankle over the right thigh, figure 4. That might be nice, or you might invite that right knee to bend. Notice how the low back feels in this shape. And then bringing one or two hands to that left thigh, push the left thigh away. Perhaps feeling a little release in that low back on the left side. Release when you're ready. Releasing the figure four. And this time, walk the heels back towards you. Reach down for the bolster. Lift the pelvis and bring the hips, the waist onto the bolster, and notice how this supported back bend changes the sensation in the low back. Notice if this inversion feels appropriate for your body tonight. And notice if it does not, if you just need to adjust something, or whether you need to return to another shape. I'm going to remove the blanket from under my head to release the neck and throat from any undue change of orientation from that elevation. And as you lie here and start to feel the shape helping you unwind, consider moving the head to the left. Noticing the turning of the head, where you feel sensation, where it feels good, and maybe where it feels not so good. Knowing that you have the full destiny of that rotation in your own hands. Exploring the sensation of the turned head. Exhaling the other side, turning the head. And bringing the head back to neutral. If you'd like, you can pick the right knee up and grab the back of the hamstring for a moment and simply hold the hamstring with the hands, or a strap if that feels easier. So not even squeezing, simply resting the clasped fingers behind the hamstring, the weight of the arms, giving the gentlest of stretches in that right buttocks. Now you can remain in this position or release that right leg at any time. If you remain in this position, what would it be like to extend the left leg out and rest the heel on the mat? Feeling that sensation at the top of the left leg. When you're ready, release the fingers. Rest the fingers on the belly and let the right foot drop back to the mat. Notice how that clasping of the fingers leaves the fingers perhaps feeling warmth or tingling. On the next inhale, consider bringing the left leg back, left knee bent, reaching the fingers around behind the hamstring and just holding. And notice as the time passes, notice what's happened to the cadence of the breath, the rhythm of the breath, the depth of the breath. What's happening to the breath as the body relaxes more and more and more? Extending the right leg out it's not already extended. Feeling the sensations on the hip flexor on that right side. Exhaling, releasing that leg if you haven't already. And then bending both knees, lift the pelvis and return the bolster under the thighs. Noticing if anything has shifted, if anything feels different in the quality of the relaxation, in the quality of the body, the quality of breath. Or even the quality of the mind. What has shifted? And then I'll invite you to stretch the arms over the head if you like. Always an invitation tonight to remain where you are or to explore different positions. And feeling that little extra stretch through the body. And then gently bending the knees. Turn to one side into a little ball. And even in fetal pose, with the knees bent, the thighs lifted, the head bowed, and the arms in that protective fetal pose. Such a natural pose to come into. And take some time just to feel if fetal pose brings up any experiences, releases any tensions. Just allowing whatever experience is already happening. Not anticipating any other experience. And then gently press up. And grab your bolster and bring it behind your back. Have your blanket or towel folded. I think that's a good thickness there. Folded like that. Maybe you'd like blocks. I'm going to come into a supported back bend. So the blocks can be handy. Snuggle the spine about 1 fist distance away from the bolster. So you're on the sit bones on the mat, and then slowly drape the spine and the head back to rest on the bolster. If there's any particular parts of the body that need support, now is a good time to use the blanket or the towel or a cushion. Check the back of the neck, just behind the occipital ridge. If that feels tight, consider using the blanket to support the back of the head. If the low back feels tight, feels uncomfortable in that lumbar arch, consider bringing a towel or a blanket underneath the hips. I'm going to go through several leg positions. I'm going to recommend you have your blocks handy. And I'm going to invite you to try each leg position for 5 or 6 breaths. Notice how it feels. Notice what it does for you. The first one is to simply walk the feet closer to you and let the knees touch. The feet are separated, and you create a little triangle out of the knees and the ankles. Five or 6 breaths. Noticing how this feels on the feet, in the legs, on the low back. And then slowly straighten both legs out. Let the feet roll where they want to roll. Notice if that shift between bent knees and straight knees makes any difference. Five or 6 breaths here. And then bending the left knee, let the left foot come into the right leg in tree pose. Notice how that feels. And if there's any strain, any discomfort here, consider putting a block underneath that left knee or that left thigh to support tree pose in this back bend. 5 or 6 breaths here. Knowing that you can shift the block further in towards the center line of the body or further away. And notice how when it comes further away, the leg drops lower towards the ground. So that's a very interesting shape, because even a millimeter of change in the block's position changes the sensations you feel. And slowly extend the left leg. Invite the right leg to do the same. Notice how the right hip feels in tree pose with the blockers supporting. Knowing that you can adjust the block throughout the time of breath with the shape on this side. Five or 6 breaths. Exhale, extending that right leg. One final invitation that you can try, if you like, is to bend both knees, walk the feet together, have the blocks handy to receive the knees as the knees float outwards and down. Blocks supporting both thighs. 5 or 6 breaths. So a lot of focus on the low body, the hips, the legs, the low back. And for the rest of our time in this supported back bend, consider where you'd like to keep your legs, given all the options that you've just been offered, knowing that you could also introduce your own unique position. Even though the focus has been on the low body, particularly the lumbar arch and the hips, because of this unique shape we've created, the rib cage has been gently opened. The chest has been gently stretching this whole time. And hopefully the arms have gone limp, relaxed. The muscles and nerves in the arms and shoulders limp by the sides of the body. So even though it appears to be so focused on the lower body, feel everywhere else that's also benefiting from this extended back bend. One of the greatest benefits of a back bend is a gentle back bend is the effortless way we can breathe in and out of the nose. So effortless. And so healthy for us. We become so open to the breath. whatever shape your legs are in. Gently bring them back to feet on the mat, knees bent. And then once again explore fetal pose, coming to one side. It could be the same side you came to before or a different side. But this time, explore it staying on the bolster. So the rib cage, the side rib cage, stays on the bolster, supporting the head either with the blanket or a folded arm or a block. And if fetal pose on the side feels too awkward on the bolster, gently push the bolster away and come back to fetal pose on the mat. Or if you're still enjoying and relishing that back bend, you can stay with that back bend. And once again, invite your attention to your breathing and notice if the breathing has significantly shifted since the beginning of practice. Has it changed in any way? Sometimes fetal pose, like child pose, can feel very safe, very comfortable. And consider, as we close the practice tonight, whether you'd like to remain a little longer in fetal pose, or if you're ready to transition, let the transition be very mindful, very gentle, Slowly coming up. Perhaps sitting on a blanket or bolster or block. Noticing how the vertical shape of the body feels. Head over shoulders, shoulders over hips. And noticing in that seated or lying position where your practice has taken you in terms of your intention, of where you wanted it to take you tonight. Did it take you towards that intention? Did you reach your goal? Did you pass the destination? Could there be more ways just to nurture yourself tonight with some self-care? Would you bring your hands together in gratitude for turning up to the mat to take care of yourself? Namaste. I'll turn that recording off.